Robert Kingston was a 48-year-old man living in Westfield, New York. He was a well-known insurance agent in the community, often seen driving around in his sleek black car with a personalized license plate that read "Top Broker," meeting clients to discuss policies and coverage options. Robert was married to Laura, a school principal, and had a stepson named Jacob. Graduated from the University of Rochester with a degree in business and had been in the insurance business for over 20 years. People in Westfield trusted Robert because he always seemed friendly and reliable. Robert lived in a large two-story house with a well-manicured lawn. His neighbors often saw him working in the yard, greeting them with a warm smile and a wave. He was involved in local events and charity fundraisers, often sponsoring local youth sports teams and attending church on Sundays. Robert seemed to have the perfect life with a beautiful home, a successful career, and a loving family. However, Robert had a secret life for the past 2 years. He had been in a sexual relationship with his stepson, Jacob. Robert kept this relationship hidden from everyone, fearing it would ruin his reputation and career. In addition to this, he continued to meet other men for secret encounters, using his office and work-related meetings as cover. These double lives created a lot of stress and tension for Robert. In the days before his death, Robert was busy with work, closing deals, and meeting clients. He spent long hours at the office and often came home late. He was looking forward to a weekend getaway to the Bahamas, with his wife, Laura, hoping to relax and forget about his troubles for a while. Robert was also planning to attend a 4th of July barbecue at a friend's house, where he expected to catch up with old friends and enjoy some time away from his hectic life. Robert's friends described him as charismatic and charming. He had a way of making people feel comfortable and important. Despite his friendly exterior, Robert was deeply troubled by his hidden life. He felt guilty about his affair with Jacob and the lies he told to keep it a secret. He was also worried about Laura finding out, fearing it would destroy their marriage and his standing in the community. In his last days, Robert was a man under pressure, trying to juggle his public persona with his private turmoil. His dreams of a perfect life were slowly unraveling, leading to a tragic and violent end. On July 3, 2018, around 3 p.m., Laura Kingston returned early from her job as a school principal. She was looking forward to a relaxing evening, maybe watching some shows on Netflix and catching up on her favorite book as she walked through the front door of their house on Elm Street in Westfield. Everything seemed normal at first. She put her teas on the kitchen counter and called out for Robert, but there was no answer. Feeling a bit uneasy, Laura decided to check the basement, where Robert often spent time working on his insurance files or watching documentaries. As she descended the stairs, she noticed that the basement door was slightly ajar, which was unusual. She called his name again, louder this time, but still no response. When she reached the bottom of the stairs, she was met with a horrifying scene. Robert's lifeless body was sprawled on the floor. Surrounded by signs of a violent struggle, there were blood stains on the carpet and furniture, and Robert's face was bruised and battered. A men's luxury belt was wrapped tightly around his neck, clearly used to choke him to death. Laura screamed in terror and rushed to her husband's side, shaking him and desperately trying to wake him up, but it was too late. In a state of shock and disbelief, Laura grabbed her cell phone and dialed 911, her hands trembling. As she spoke to the operator, her voice cracking with emotion. "My husband is dead. I think he's been murdered," she cried, struggling to catch her breath. The operator tried to calm her down and instructed her to stay on the line until the police arrived. Laura's neighbor, Margaret Dixon, heard the commotion and came over to see what was happening. She found Laura sitting on the front steps, sobbing uncontrollably. Margaret stayed with Laura, trying to comfort her, while they waited for the police. The minutes felt like hours, and Laura's mind raced with questions about who could have done this and why. When the police finally arrived, they quickly secured the scene and escorted Laura and Margaret away from the basement. Laura was in a state of shock, barely able to comprehend what had just happened. She kept repeating, "Who would do this to Robert?" over and over again, her mind unable to process the brutal reality of her husband's death. The discovery of Robert's body sent shockwaves through the quiet community of Westfield. News of the murder spread quickly, with neighbors and friends gathering outside the Kingston home, trying to make sense of the tragedy that had struck their seemingly perfect neighborhood. On July 3, 2018, 3:15 p.m., the Westfield Police Department received a frantic 911 call from Laura King. Officers arrived at the scene within minutes, led by Detective James Morton, seasoned investigator known for his meticulous approach. Kingston home, located on the quiet Elm Street, was quickly surrounded by police cars and yellow crime. Scene tape was stretched around the perimeter. Detective Morton and his team entered the basement, where they were confronted with a grisly scene. Robert Kingston's body lay on the floor with a men's luxury belt wrapped tightly around his neck. Bloodstains were visible on the carpet and nearby furniture, indicating a violent struggle. Detective Morton, a tall man in his late 40s with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor, took in the scene with steely resolve. The police began their investigation by collecting evidence. They photographed the scene from various angles, documenting every detail. The belt used in the murder was carefully bagged as evidence, and detectives searched for fingerprints and any other clues that might lead to the killer. Detective Morton noted the overturned furniture and signs of a struggle, indicating that Robert had fought for his life. Forensic experts arrived to process the scene using luminol to detect blood traces and collecting samples for DNA analysis. They meticulously combed the area for hair fibers and any other potential evidence. The brutality of the murder shocked even the most experienced officers, but they remained focused on gathering all the information they could. Detective Morton interviewed Laura Kingston, who was still in shock from discovering her husband's body. She described her day and the horrifying moment she found Robert. Her account was detailed and emotional, but she insisted she had no idea who could have done this. Laura's alibi was quickly verified, as she had been at work at the time of the murder. Next, the police began canvassing the neighborhood. They spoke with neighbors, including Margaret Dixon, who had come to Laura's aid. Margaret described hearing Laura's screams and finding her on the front steps, distraught and incoherent. Other neighbors mentioned seeing Robert earlier in the day, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The police also checked Robert's recent phone and email records, hoping to find any lead. They discovered several suspicious messages and calls, suggesting that Robert had been meeting with various men for illicit encounter. This revelation added a new layer to the investigation, pointing to potential motives related to Robert's hidden life. As the day turned into evening, the police continued their work, determined to find the person responsible for Robert Kingston's brutal murder. The scene was cleared, and Detective Morton and his team reviewed the evidence collected, preparing for the next steps in their investigation. The community of Westfield watched anxiously, hoping for answers and justice for Robert Kingston. The first suspect in Robert Kingston's murder was his wife, Laura Kingston. Laura, 47, was a respected school principal in Westfield, known for her intelligence and strong personality. She had been with the school district for over 15 years and was heavily involved in community activities. Colleagues described her as dedicated and authoritative, always striving for excellence. Laura was brought in for questioning the day after the murder. On July 4, 2018, Detective James Morton led the interrogation, trying to piece together her actions and emotions. Laura appeared exhausted and distraught, but she answered questions calmly. She recounted her day at work and the horrifying discovery of Robert's body when she returned home. Despite her composed demeanor, Laura's anger and confusion were evident. She expressed disbelief and frustration over the affair, insisting she had no idea Robert was sexually involved with other men. The revelation of the affair added tension to the interrogation, as Detective Morton probed deeper into Laura's feelings about her husband's betrayal. Detective Morton asked Laura about her relationship with Robert. She admitted they had a strong partnership, but mentioned that they had faced some challenges recently. Laura claimed she was unaware of Robert's secret life. She explained that she had recently undergone surgery, which had caused her to feel distant and less perceptive of Robert's actions, suggesting this might be why she missed any signs of his double life. Laura's alibi was solid. She had been at the school all day, ending meetings and preparing for the upcoming school year. Colleagues and security footage confirmed her presence at work during the time of the murder. Nonetheless, her connection to the victim made her a person of interest. Detective Morton also explored Laura's possible motive. Her reputation and career were crucial to her, and Robert's affair threatened both. However, Laura firmly denied any involvement in the murder, maintaining her innocence throughout the questioning. She was cooperative and provided all requested information, including access to her phone and email. Police conducted a thorough search of the Kingston home, looking for any evidence that might link Laura to the crime. They found nothing incriminating, reinforcing her alibi and statements. Still, the detectives remained cautious, aware that emotions could drive even the most rational individuals to commit desperate acts. Laura was released after several hours of questioning, but she remained under scrutiny. As the investigation continued, the police kept a close watch on her, monitoring her interactions and movements, while they explored other leads. The murder of Robert Kingston was proving to be a complex case, with layers of secrets and motives. Slowly unraveling, Jacob Kingston, Robert's 21-year-old stepson, was the next suspect. Jacob was a college student and part-time bartender, known for his troubled past. He had been in and out of rehab and support programs as a teenager. Despite these challenges, Jacob was determined to turn his life around and was pursuing a degree in psychology at a local community college. On July 4, 2018, Jacob was brought in for questioning. Detective James Morton, aware of the sensitive nature of Jacob, relationship with Robert approached the interrogation with caution. Jacob appeared nervous but cooperative, willing to share his side of the story. Jacob admitted to the police that he had been in a secret sexual relationship with his stepfather the past 2 years. He described feeling conflicted, struggling with the deceit and secrecy. Jacob revealed that he had recently broken off the affair. After discovering that Robert had been cheating on him with several other men, using his office and work appointments as secret meeting places during the interrogation, Jacob expressed a mix of anger and sadness. He felt betrayed by Robert, not only because of the affair, but also because of the lies and manipulation. Despite his resentment, Jacob claimed he had no intention of harming Robert. He stated that he had been working at the bar on the night of the murder, and several witnesses confirmed his alibi. Detective Morton delved deeper into Jacob's possible motives. The young man's history of emotional turmoil and substance abuse raised concerns, but his recent efforts to stay sober and focused on his studies painted a different picture. Jacob was open about his struggles and his desire to move forward away from the toxic relationship with Robert. The police also examined Jacob's electronic devices and social media accounts, looking for any evidence of his involvement in the crime. They found messages between him and Robert that showed tension and conflict, but nothing that directly implicated him in the murder. Jacob's DNA was found at the crime scene, but as he lived in the house, this was not unexpected. Jacob's cooperation and consistent alibi made it difficult for the police to pin the crime on him. He was released after several hours of questioning, but remained a key figure in the investigation. The police continued to monitor his activities and interactions, searching for any inconsistencies or new evidence that might shed light on his involvement. Complex dynamics between Robert and Jacob added a layer of complexity to the case, leaving Detective Morton and his team with more questions than answers. As they continued to dig deeper, they hoped to uncover the truth. Behind Robert Kingston's brutal murder, Alexa Reed, 30, was the third suspect in the investigation. Alexa had a history with Robert Kingston that made her a person of interest. She had once caught Robert having an affair with her husband during a work event, which led to the end of her marriage. Known for her fiery temper, Alexa had several confrontations with Robert. Since the incident on July 5, 2018, Detective James Morton brought Alexa in for questioning. Alexa was a waitress at a popular local diner and had a reputation for being outspoken and strong-willed. She walked into the interrogation room with a defiant expression, ready to defend herself. Detective Morton started by asking Alexa about her relationship with Robert. She admitted that she despised him for ruining her marriage and causing her immense emotional pain. Alexa described the day she discovered her husband and Robert together as the worst day of her life. She had confronted Robert several times after that, demanding answers and an apology, but he had always brushed her off when asked about her whereabouts. On the day of the murder, Alexa said she had been working a double shift at a diner called Mason's Diner. She provided the names of her coworkers who could verify her alibi. Detective Morton called the diner and spoke with Alexa's manager, who confirmed that Alexa had been at work all day. Multiple coworkers also confirmed seeing her during her shift. Despite her solid alibi, Detective Morton explored Alexa's possible motives. Further, her intense anger toward Robert was evident, but she insisted she had moved on and was focusing on rebuilding her life. Alexa shared that she was taking night classes at a local community college, hoping to become a social worker and help others who had gone through similar struggles. The police searched Alexa's home and car, looking for any evidence that might link her to the crime. They found nothing suspicious or incriminating. Alexa's phone records and social media activity showed no contact with Robert in the weeks leading up to the murder. Throughout the interrogation, Alexa remained calm and composed. Despite her obvious disdain for Robert, she answered all questions directly and showed no signs of guilt or deception. Detective Morton noted her cooperation and honesty, but knew they had to keep all possibilities open. After several hours of questioning, Alexa was released. The police continued to monitor her, aware that her past with Robert made her a potential suspect. However, her alibi and lack of evidence made it difficult to tie her to the crime directly. The investigation into Robert Kingston's murder grew more complex with each interview. Detective Morton and his team were determined to uncover the truth, but the web of secrets and lies surrounding Robert's life made their task increasingly challenging. They pressed on, hoping to find the piece of evidence that would finally reveal the killer on July 10, 2018. The investigation took a dramatic turn. It was a hot summer day in Westfield, New York, with temperatures reaching the high 80s around 1000 a.m. Detective Morton received a call from the forensic lab. They had found crucial new evidence while re-examining items from the crime scene. Among Robert Kingston's belongings was a small hidden camera disguised as a smoke detector installed in the basement. Detective Morton and his team immediately retrieved the footage. The camera had recorded the basement's activities for the past few weeks, capturing Robert's secret meetings and interaction. As they reviewed the footage, they discovered a recording from the day of the murder. The video showed a heated argument between Robert and his stepson, Jacob Kingston. The argument quickly escalated into a physical struggle. In the video, Jacob grabbed the luxury belt from a nearby chair and used it to choke Robert in a fit of rage. Footage captured the entire incident, providing undeniable evidence of Jacob's involvement in the murder. Detective Morton was shocked by the brutality and clear motive behind the act: anger and betrayal. With this new evidence, Detective Morton contacted Jacob and asked him to come in for further questioning. Jacob arrived at the station, unaware of the video evidence against him during the interrogation. Morton confronted him with the footage. Jacob's demeanor changed instantly. His initial calmness turned to panic and desperation. Realizing he had been caught, Jacob broke down and confessed. He explained that he felt trapped in the relationship with Robert, manipulated by both his stepfather and his mother. Laura, the constant deceit, and Robert's infidelity had pushed him to his breaking point. Jacob admitted that in a moment of uncontrollable rage, he had killed Robert to free himself from the suffocating situation. Detective Morton carefully documented Jacob's confession, ensuring every detail was recorded. The new evidence, combined with the confession, left no doubt about Jacob's guilt. The police now had a clear picture of the events leading up to Robert Kingston's murder and the complex web of secrets and lies that had surrounded the case on July 11, 2018. Just before noon, the Westfield Police Department made a decisive move with Jacob Kingston's confession and the incriminating video evidence. Detective James Morton and his team were ready to arrest him for the murder of Robert Kingston. Jacob, 21, a college student and part-time bartender, had been living a life of turmoil and confusion. Despite his attempts to overcome his troubled past, the intense emotional pressure from his affair with his stepfather and his mother's manipulations had driven him to a breaking point. The police learned that Jacob, overwhelmed by feelings of betrayal and manipulation, killed Robert in a fit of rage on the day of the arrest. Detective Morton and several officers arrived at Jacob's apartment. They knocked on the door, and Jacob, looking pale and exhausted, answered. He was handcuffed and read his rights. Jacob seemed resigned to his fate, showing little emotion as he was led to the police car. The neighborhood was quiet, but a few curious onlookers watched as the scene unfolded back at the station. Jacob was formally charged with the murder of Rob Kingston. Detective Morton conducted a final interview to document all the details of Jacob's confession. Jacob reiterated his feelings of being trapped and manipulated by Robert and pressured by his mother, Laura. He described the events leading up to the murder, including the violent argument that had escalated into the fatal attack. Laura Kingston, Robert's wife and Jacob's mother, was also brought in for questioning. The investigation had revealed that Laura had known about the affair for months and had pressured Jacob to continue it. She feared that Robert's reckless behavior would ruin her chances in the upcoming election for school superintendent. Laura, however, was not directly involved in the murder. Her deception and manipulation added a layer of complexity to the case, but she was not charged with any crime. Robert's family was shocked by the revelations they had seen. Robert, as a devoted husband and father, unaware of his double life. The arrest of Jacob brought a mix of emotions: grief for Robert's death, anger at the betrayal, and a sense of tragic inevitability. Given the circumstances, the community of Westfield was stunned by the news. The murder had exposed a hidden world of secrets and lies, shaking the town to its core as Jacob awaited trial. The Kingston family and the entire community tried to come to terms with the shocking events that had unfolded. The police had solved the case, but the emotional aftermath would linger for a long time. The truth about Robert's life and death had been revealed, but the scars left behind would take much longer to heal. The trial of Jacob Kingston began on September 1, 2018 in Westfield, New York. The courtroom was filled with family, friends, and local media, all eager to hear the details of the case. The trial was a significant event in the community, drawing attention from both local and national news outlets. Prosecution was led by District Attorney Laura Stevens, 45-year-old, known for her strong courtroom presence and dedication to justice. She argued that Jacob's murder of Robert Kingston was premeditated and driven by deep-seated anger and betrayal. She presented the hidden camera footage and Jacob's confession as key evidence. Stevens emphasized that Jacob's actions were the result of a troubled and volatile relationship, but ultimately he was responsible for the brutal death of his stepfather. The defense was represented by attorney Casey Brooks, 40-year-old. With a reputation for defending high-profile cases, Brooks argued that Jacob's actions were the result of intense emotional turmoil and manipulation from both Robert and his mother, Laura. They claimed that Jacob's unstable mental state and the pressure he faced made it difficult for him to control his actions. Brooks sought a verdict of guilty, but with consideration for a lesser charge, hoping for a more lenient sentence due to the circumstances during the trial. The victim's family, including Laura Kingston and other relatives, sat quietly, visibly distressed. The proceedings, they had been shocked by the revelations of Robert's double life and the turmoil it had caused. Their emotional reactions were palpable as they listened to the details of the affair and the murder. On September 15, 2018, the jury returned with a verdict. Jacob Kingston was found guilty of second-degree murder. The jury determined that, while Jacob had acted in a fit of rage, killing was not premeditated. The decision was met with mixed reaction. Some felt the verdict was just given the emotional and psychological factors involved. Others felt it was too lenient given the brutality of the crime. Jacob was sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentencing brought a sense of closure to the case, but the pain and trauma for Robert's family were far from over. The Kingston family struggled to find peace. Knowing that Robert's death had been caused by someone so close to the trial's impact extended beyond the courtroom, forced the community to confront the hidden realities of betrayal and manipulation, leaving a lasting mark on Westfield. As the case concluded, the Kingston family and the town of Westfield began the difficult process of healing from the shocking events that had unfolded after the trial of Jacob Kingston concluded in September 2018. Life in Westfield, New York, began to return to normal. But the impact of the case lingered. The community, deeply shaken by the brutal murder of Robert Kingston and the subsequent revelations, faced a long process of healing and adjustment. Jacob Kingston, now serving a 25-year prison sentence, remained in the New York State Department of Corrections. His life behind bars was marked by the same struggles he faced outside, dealing with his own emotions and the consequences of his actions in prison. Jacob was reportedly quiet and withdrawn, focusing on completing his education through available programs. He used the time to reflect on his past decisions and seek counseling for his emotional issues. Laura Kingston, Robert's wife, had her own challenges to face. The trial had exposed her knowledge of Robert's affair and her manipulative actions, which had a significant impact on her personal and professional life. The scandal affected her candidacy for school superintendent position. She had been campaigning for diligently, despite her previous efforts to present a perfect image. The revelations led to her withdrawal from the race. Laura tried to rebuild her life away from the public eye, seeking therapy to cope with the emotional fallout and to address the impact of the scandal on her reputation. In the months following the trial, Westfield began to move forward, though the scars of the case remained. The community held memorials and support events to honor Robert Kingston's memory and to support those affected by the crime. The Kingston family's tragedy served as a sobering reminder of the hidden struggles that can lie behind closed doors as life resumed its normal pace. The case remained a poignant chapter in Westfield's history, a reminder of the deep impact of betrayal and violence, the individuals and communities alike. The story of Robert Kingston's murder is a tragic reminder of the complexities and hidden secrets that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly perfect lives. It's a tale of manipulation, deceit, and the devastating consequences of living a double life.